On our end, you're listening to me, Jason DeRosso. This is the final cut, the weekly radiophonic peek into my mind as a film critic. And wherever that part of the brain is that responds to joy, it's pulsating right now. Maybe it's glowing. Whatever it is, it's very active because I'm about to talk about a new documentary that I found really charming. It's on limited release around the country and it is called School Life.
Here's one you definitely won't get right, or I'll be absolutely amazed if you do. Which country did pavlova come from? Poland. Is the wrong answer? Italy. Is the wrong answer? Switzerland. Is the wrong answer? Spain. Is the wrong answer?
Russia.
Germany. It's Australian.
Husband and wife filmmaking pair Neasa and David Rane spent more than a couple of years capturing life inside a rural Irish boarding school named Headfort, an imposing, if slightly crumbling, grey manor house surrounded by lush fields. In particular, they focused on veteran teachers Amanda and John Leyden, who live nearby in a small cottage. These two are eccentrics by any measure, an endearingly scruffy pair of chain-smoking country teachers who display an uncommon composure among the cackle of children as they supervise playtime, oversee the dorms, and John in particular mentors members of the school's rock band. Footage of this group attempting a version of the Undertones punk hit Teenage Kicks is laugh out loud funny. But it's John and Amanda's conversations about the children that reveal a great intelligence and an insight into why great teaching matters.
Eliza's smiling a lot more now, isn't she?
Well, but that's true. She does speak more. But it's not quite what you'd hope to turn out. So should at this stage be very balanced and independent and thoughtful. And she's all those things. But they also speak. She doesn't speak too much. Much more than she did.
School Life, the film that captures them and their lives so intimately, is a tender, astutely observed verite study of life in a benign institution, one that embraces diversity and fairness, but never shirks from or is apologetic of its mission to shape young lives. School Life, I think, sits in the tradition of the esteemed documentarian Frederick Wiseman, also because he too was a lover of institutions and tried to work out how institutions work or didn't work in many of his films, and continues to do so. I spoke with the co-directors of School Life on Skype.
I went to boarding school myself, and my parents lived in Nigeria, and I was sent to a boarding school in the UK when I was 7, and it was very traumatic for me. It was very difficult. So we went into this, I went in expecting to find children who were very upset at the separation from their parents, who would lose some kind of family connection that is so critical for all of us, that relationship with parents. But we went in looking at the school as a possible surrogate family. Is it possible for a school, an organization, an institution to step in place of the parents? The original title was in loco parentis, the Latin for in place of the parents. So that was the challenge for us. So yes, of course, we were skeptical, and we didn't go in believing this was going to be a utopia.
And we didn't go in thinking that John and Amanda would be our main characters. I think in the beginning they gave us a very wide berth. We just would see John passing in the corridors, or, we heard that Amanda would come and read to the children, but we didn't really pay much attention to that. And it was only when we started talking to many of the alumni and asking them what their experiences had been like. So we spoke to 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds and 30-year-olds, and they all referenced John and Amanda, and they all talked about how they had left their mark. And it was then really that we started to realize, God, these guys are, pretty important in this whole scene. And it did take us a few months for them to take us seriously. I remember we were a whole year researching the film, and it was at the end of the summer term that John and Amanda finally decided, okay, they invited us up to their house for tea. And that's when we had our first proper conversation about the school with them.
Tell me about the school. What sort of school is it? I mean, you get a clear sense that it's for children who are aiming to get into the quite prestigious secondary schools in the UK, actually, it seems to me. But describe to me what this school is.
Well, it's also a bit like Hogwarts meets School of Rock. I mean, it is that crazy and an eccentric world. You know, what somebody described it as magical teachers in a Muggle world, because you've got that amazing 18th century building with the spooky corridors and the stairwells and secret doors and all that kind of thing.
But is it an elitist? Is it an elitist school in any way?
It isn't. I don't think it is. In that the fees are not that high. People choose to send their children there. They know that their children are going to have almost an extended childhood. They're going to have more time playing out in the woods, building forts. They have very, very little time on screens. You probably saw that in the film. They're not allowed on iPads and iPhones.
The headmaster is a Marxist, and I think he opens the doors as wide as he possibly can. Yes, it is a private school. It is for 7 to 13-year-olds, but not all the children go on to the British schools. Charlie and Archie, you see those two going on, but the vast majority of them go on to Irish schools, and the international children tend to go back to their own countries, except the Koreans. They tend to stay in Ireland and continue their education there. But it's a school that sort of places the child and the child's happiness at the centre of education, and I think that's what attracted us firstly to the school. And Dermot Dix, as I said, the headmaster, he is a Marxist, and he does open the doors as widely as he can. He provides bursaries for families that can't afford the full fees. And the year we started filming, he took in a settled travelling family, 4 children into the school. Now, we didn't focus on that because that wasn't really, we had decided at this stage that really, John and Amanda would be the focus of our film. But, there's a great mix of children, and I think it's a school that celebrates difference rather than conformity.
I want to speak about the film formally. It seems to me to be a film that owes a lot to the kind of legacy of a filmmaker like Frederick Wiseman. Tell me about how easy it is these days to, raise funds to make documentaries that are so formally pure. I mean, you've got no voiceover. You've maintained rigorously this observational style.
You're right, no voiceover, no interviews. We wanted it to feel like a fiction film as well and play like a narrative. But it is difficult to do that nowadays. There's a lot of skepticism about why would you want to spend 2 years filming and, why don't you tell the story quickly with interviews?
Yeah, I mean, you want to see rather than be told. It would have been just too easy to have, interviews with teachers and children telling us what they thought the school was or how it was for them. It was better to try and show people and allow them to experience it and allow them to feel that they had been to the school as well for a short, for whatever the 100 minutes that the film lasts. But it does require a lot of time and investment on the filmmaker's part. I mean, we did go to school every day. We had a little room in the school and that we could disappear to when we weren't filming. But we had to become very much part of the furniture of the school, and we had to be allowed into that circle. But I think that kind of pays off in the end because you get very, very close. You get very, very close to the children's world, and we got very, very close to John and Amanda.
It must have taken a toll on you, though, spending so much time there.
It did. But we did one huge thing, which was that Neasa and I did all the camera and sound. Neasa did all the cinematography, and I did all the sound. We wouldn't have been able to afford to pay people to spend that time with us. But yeah, it did take a toll on us. We took a huge gamble, and we had no money for the first year and a half, 2 years, and then
nobody believed in the film.
Nobody believed in the film. No one.
So you were living off savings, in other words. I mean, you were
saving,
exactly
borrowing.
Wow.
Yes, exactly.
And Visa cards.
My poor parents and Visa cards, and yeah. I mean, it was a situation we probably hope we'd never be in again. But as Neasa said, we wanted it to be a cinema film. We wanted people, and it's worked. I mean, so many reviews have said that once you're in that cinema watching this film, you don't want to leave. You just want to stay there and be with these amazing children and teachers and experiencing that magic world.
Neasa Chianáin and David Rane, the co-directors of the wonderful new documentary School Life. Go and see it. And don't be afraid to go with your kids too. In fact, it might be a wonderful experience to go with them.
Another year, another Westival.
G'day, folks. Welcome to my country.